Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshthārajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatana Shrunvannotibhissīda Sadhanam Shri Mahaganādhipataye Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Dear friends, we have to read this 19th shloka of 8th Adhyaya. 19th shloka, we read this Avatarika. Avatarika is that introductory passage where Shankaracharya, he was saying about this Akruta Bhyagama, then Kruta Vipranasha. These 2 points he was saying. That is, in every cycle of creation, people are coming again and again. And who are the people who are coming again and again? The same people who disappeared in the earlier Kalpa, they are the same people who are coming again. So that is what is the point which he is going to say in this, which Lord Krishna is going to say in this present shloka. For that, Shankaracharya has given an introduction. That is, this particular shloka is going to say that all the beings, they come again and again. Not only in this cycle of creation, but in all the cycles of creation. Unless they attain moksha, unless they attain liberation by acquiring jnana, they keep on coming again and again. So this cycle, again I explained to you last time. Cycle is so many thousands of Mahayugas. A particular 1000 Mahayugas, they constitute the day of Brahman. And that is the duration of that particular cycle. And then the moment that Brahma or whatever, that Srishtikarta, that Hiranyagarbha Brahma, when it is a night for that Hiranyagarbha Brahma, then all these things are withdrawn. Like all this external world which we see is withdrawn into our Sushupti when we go to sleep. Similarly, this whole universe is withdrawn into him in that Pralaya. That particular situation is called a Pralaya. So, in this particular cycle itself, there are thousands and thousands of recycles, thousands and thousands of births for every being, isn't it? Thousands and thousands of births in every cycle. Then similarly, likewise, there are so many cycles, like so many cycles of creation, so many cosmic cycles of creation. So, in all those things, the same beings come again and again. Why? So, Shankaracharya told that in this particular cycle, if somebody has done some good deeds, he has to get the benefit for the good deeds. If he has done some bad deeds, he has to reap the consequences for his bad deeds. So that is our philosophy. So a person is responsible for his own good or bad deeds, and accordingly he takes birth. But then he has got the freedom to improve himself. He has got the freedom to do some good deeds and then neutralize the papam, neutralize all this, the effect of evil deeds. Punyena papam apanudati. That is one Dharmashastra rule. Punyena papam apanudati. By doing good deeds, you can neutralize the bad, karma, which is going to give result. So that is the point here. So he told that Kruta Pranasha, that is one who has done good deeds. If he dies and then if somebody else is born in the next kalpa, then all the good deeds, they are gone to ashes. He is not getting any benefit of those good deeds. Then somebody who has been a great evil doer all through his life, and then he goes and then all the evils are forgotten, and then somebody else comes into being. And then regarding the people who are born, then there is so much of diversity again in that creation. Somebody is born poor, somebody is born rich, somebody is born fit, somebody is born lame. So for all those inequalities, again you have to explain. Otherwise you have to attribute some motives to God, that God is partial to some people, God is not partial to some people. So like that. So in order to avoid those defects, the Vedanta accepts this karma doctrine, and then says, while accepting this karma doctrine, it also says a human being has the free will to do action and then improve himself. So that was the introduction that we read in the last class. And then we have to read this shloka. Let us read this shloka. Bhutagramas sayevayam भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते
praliyate.
Ratriyagame vashah partha.
Ratriyagame vashah partha.
Prabhavatyharagame.
Prabhavatyharagame.
So this shloka says, this bhuta gramaha. Grama is lot many things, a samuha or an assembly, a large number of things or large number of people. The large number of things are called a grama. Grama means a samuha. That is bhuta grama. All these hordes of beings, all these hordes of people, let us say. The whole, all the people are not only people, but all the animals too. Not only the human beings, but all the animals and all the beings, let us say. All the beings, sthavara and jangama, we have to include even the trees and all those, they are also beings. So all these beings, they are called bhuta grama. This is samuha, bhuta samuha, bhutanam samuha, bhuta gramaha. So bhuta gramaha, sa eva ayam bhuta gramaha, sa eva bhutva praliyate. So it comes into being, bhutva means comes into being, again comes into being. And then praliyate. Praliyate means it gets dissolved. It gets dissolved. When ratriyagame avashaha partha. Hey partha, ratriyagame avashaha praliyate. This avashaha has to be connected with praliyate. Avashaha praliyate. Avashaha means in a very helpless manner. Avashaha. You are not under your own control. Avashaha. Avashaha praliyate. Then when ratriyagame. Ratri agame, Ratri plus agame, Ratriyagame. Whose night is this? This is the Hiranyagarbha's night. We are now talking about the Hiranyagarbha's day and night. Hiranyagarbha's day is equal to 1000 Mahayugas as per human reckoning. Human reckoning I explained in the last class. The basic unit of human reckoning is the just closing the eye. Just closing the eyelid. This is the time which is called nimesha. You just blink your eye, and then the one blink of an eye is called a nimesha. So some 15 minutes nimeshas, it is called a kashta. Some 30 kashtas, it is called something like kala. Some 13 kashtas, they call kala. Then some 30 kalas, it is called a muhurta. So something like that, some calculation is there. And every day in this 24 hours, as we call it, in this 24-hour ahoratra, that is day and night, there are 30 such muhurtas. So this is a day. And similarly, a year, and then so many years, and then there is a small yuga, which is called Kali Yuga, Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, etc., etc. All these put together, it is called a Mahayuga. 1000 such Mahayugas, they constitute the day, and again some 1000 such Mahayugas, they constitute the night. And when there is a day break for that Hiranyagarbha, then all this Srushti comes out. That is Hiranyagarbha, the very fact of Hiranyagarbha seeing, it is called Srushti. Hiranyagarbha again going to sleep, or that itself is called say the pralaya. All these things are withdrawn. So that is how the things are conceived, because this is again all a sort of say cosmic speculation only. So we have to postulate, or Vedanta has to postulate something which is reasonable, and then which accounts for all the good deeds and bad deeds of a person. And at the same time, Vedanta is also taking into account the then astronomical knowledge of say our ancient people, because I was also referring to that Surya Siddhanta, which talks about the sun being the center of the say universe, and then universe in those days, of course they did not, I have not read Surya Siddhanta, but then that is the basic thing in that Surya Siddhanta is sun is the center of the universe, and then all the things they are moving around, and then there is an observation of the human body cycle, and also observation of the say sun, and then all these say terrestrial beings. So many things are told in that Surya Siddhanta, and people claim that even the distance between sun and earth has been told, even the velocity of light is told. That is what people say. Unless we study it, we cannot say. Anyway, so all these things they have combined. All these things have been combined, and certain postulations are made in Vedanta to give us an idea of that say Hiranyagarbha, to give us an idea of the say this magnitude of this creation. It is not as though this earth was, the whole universe was created some 4000 years ago or something like that. The magnitude of the creation, if we go into our books, it is really say really mind-boggling. So anyway, So this bhutagrama, sayeva ayam bhutagramaha, this ayam bhutagramaha, this all assemblage of assembly, not assemblage, assembly of all the beings, sayeva, the very same thing, bhutva bhutva, bhutva bhutva means coming into existence, then again disappearing, then again coming into existence, then again praliyate, it dissolves. Then when ratriyagame, when it is night for that hiranyagarbha, then prabhavati aharagame, ahas plus agame, aharagame, ahas is day, ahas is day, ahas plus agame, aharagame, that is when it is daybreak, when it is day for that hiranyagarbha, prabhavati. Prabhavati means it again comes into being. Bhu dhatu. What is bhu? Bhu sattayam, to be. So prabhavati. The other one is praliyate, that is leenam. It is not getting destroyed. We should note the word here. Prabhavati is coming into being. Then again praliyate, going into again that seed state. Seeing into that seed state, it is there, preserved in a seed form. It is not destroyed. It is not anything. Something is dying means it is not getting destroyed. It is just going into that bija state or pralina sthiti. So that is how it is. So let us see the bhashyam. Bhutagrama iti. Bhutagramaha bhuta samudayah. Sthavara jangama lakshanaha. यह पूर्वस्मिन् कल्पे आसीत् सयेव अयं नान्यः भूत्वा पुनः अहरागमे प्रलीयते पुनः पुनः रात्र्यागमे अह्नः क्षये अवशः अस्वतन्त्र एव पार्थ प्रभवति अवशः एव अहरागमे. So in one sentence the bhashya is over. So what we see here is this particular all this bhuta samudaya is all this group of people. Group means not a small group, the whole beings. Sthavara jangama lakshanaha bhutagramaha bhuta samudaya, the whole being, all the beings collectively is called bhuta samudaya. It's a collective noun. All the beings in the universe are collectively called bhuta samudaya. So this samudaya, what does it constitute? Sthavara jangama lakshanaha. Sthavara means those which are stationary, starting from a small blade of grass to huge trees and all these stationary things, and jangama, all these mobile things, moving things. Jangama means gacchati. Gacchati from that dhatu is that jangama. Sthavara jangama lakshanaha. Those beings which are characterized by these two things. That is, one type is sthavara, other type is jangama. Then who are they? Yaha purvasmin kalpe asit. This whole bunch, let us say, this whole bunch, purvasmin kalpe asit. In the prior kalpa, in the previous kalpa, the same bunch was there. So this is the point. The same bunch was there. That is to avoid that dosha of kruta pranasha and akruta abhyagama. That is, the good deeds done by you, you have to get the benefit for the good deeds. If somebody has done bad deeds, he has to reap the consequences for the bad deeds. So that is that in order to avoid, in order to ensure that sort of system, the same beings are coming again and again. यह पूर्वस्मिन् कल्पे आसीत् स एव अयं न अन्यः. न अन्यः means not anything else. Then bhutva punah aharagame. Then bhutva means having come into existence. Punah, again aharagame, that is when it is daybreak. Punah aharagame. Then what happens to that? Praliyate punah. Again and again they get resolved. They get withdrawn. Where ratriyagame ahnah kshaye. Ratriyagama means when it is night for that hiranyagarbha. Then avashaha means in a very helpless manner. Aswatantra eva. The beings, they do not have freedom, or they don't get liberated. They have to jolly well come back. Into the world. So bhutva aharagame avashaha eva partha prabhavati avashaha eva aharagame. So these two things happen in a very helplessly. And how is this helplessness to be overcome? This helplessness can be overcome only by jnana. So that is what is the point here. So this avashatvam or helplessness, avashatvam is helplessness. This helplessness can be overcome only by jnana. Jnana means the same shravana, manana, nididhyasana, knowing about one's own self, knowing that one is not a limited entity. So that is the basic thing. The basic thing in this whole, this system of rebirth, the basic issue is whether you have got rid of your feeling of that parichannatva. Feeling of parichannatva means that limitedness. So long as you feel that you are a limited being, so long as you feel that you are a body-mind complex, so long as you feel like that, then this Sukshma Sharira, it will not die. Sukshma Sharira will continue to be there. Sukshma Sharira will continue to linger on. It will continue to crave for some body, and then it will assume the body depending on the baggage of karma it is carrying. So once a person knows his identity, once he knows that there is no kartrutva or bhoktrutva in the Atman, once he knows that he is of the nature of pure consciousness, then all that baggage disappears, all the baggage vanishes on its own, and then the Sushma Sharira also vanishes, and then there is no question of coming into being again. So that is what we have to see. The basic question is whether a person has got rid of the feeling of finiteness. So one has to realize his own being as one with that infinite consciousness, infinite Brahman. So that is the basic point here. So then another point which we saw is, this is a very simple statement. So let us see the next one. Yad upanyastam aksharam tasya praptyupayah nirdishtah om ityekaksharam brahma ityadina atha idanim aksharasyaiva swarupa nirdidikshaya idam uchyate anena yoga margena idam gantavyam iti. So this is the avatarika or the introduction for the next shloka. So the next three shlokas, they are again coming back to the topic of Omkara. Earlier we saw that Omkara, discussion on Omkara, and then we saw that Omkara is the strategy or the path for both the Supreme Brahman and also for the lower Brahman. It is the path or it is the strategy for Parabrahma, that is the Supreme Brahman, and also for Apara Brahma. Apara Brahma is that lower level of Brahman or Hiranyagarbha level of Brahman or what we call transactional level of Brahman or an empirical level of Brahman as we call it. So this is what we saw. So after that, he told about this Abrahma Bhuvanat Loka Punaravartinaha, how people they go and come back and all that he said. Then again the next three shlokas are giving, they are again resuming the topic of Omkara, and again earlier he has just mentioned the importance of Omkara. That is, Omkara is a strategy, he said. That is the Upaya. In Sanskrit what we call is Upaya. Upaya is a strategy. Then with that Upaya you are going to gain something. What you gain by Upaya is called Upeya. This is again a technical, this is again a Shastra Paribhasha. The Upaya is a strategy and Upeya is what you attain by that Upaya. So that is the Swarupa of this Brahma. What is the Swarupa of this Brahma? Swarupa means the nature. What is the nature of this Brahman, which you are going to attain by this strategy called Omkara. So that is what is being told here in this, that is what is said in this Avatarika. You see this, Yad Upanyastam Aksharam, we read it, Yad Upanyastam Aksharam, that Aksharam has already been Upanyastam. Upanyastam means it has been talked about, it has been discussed. Upanyasa we know. Upanyasa, Samipe Nyasam, it has been presented before you. Yad Upanyastam means that it has already been presented before you. What is that? Aksharam. Aksharam Paramam Brahma that we saw. Tasya Prapti Upayah Nirdishtaha. That Prapti Upayah Nirdishtaha means by following that Omkara, by doing that meditation on Omkara, at whatever level you can do, depending on your ability, you will attain either Parabrahma or that inferior Brahma. That is what it was told. Nirdishtaha. Prapti Upayah Nirdishtaha. That plan, that was Nirdishtaha means it has been explained. It has been explained. How Om ityekaksharam Brahma ityadina. That Om ityekaksharam Brahma, Vyaharam Manusmaran, that is the earlier shloka, that is the same Adhyaya, 13th shloka. We are again going back to the context of that Omkara. Om ityekaksharam Brahma ityadina. Then Atha Idanim, now, Atha means now, Idanim, Aksharasyaiva Swarupa Nirdidikshaya. Aksharasyaiva means of that Akshara, of that Omkara, of that Akshara Brahma. Omkara is also the Vachaka. Vachaka means that is the designating word. Omkara is a word which designates or which denotes a particular thing, denotes that Brahman. Omkara is a word which denotes that Brahman. It is called Vachaka. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha. That is again a Yoga Sutra. So Pranava and Omkar, the Omkara is the Vachaka or the word denoting Brahman. So that is it. So Dasya Aksharasya Swarupa Nirdidikshaya. Nirdidiksha means Nirdeshtum Ichha. That is the intention to explain that Swarupa. Nirdidiksha is intention to explain. Intention to explain what? That Swarupa of that Akshara Brahma. Swarupa, that is the nature of that Akshara Brahma. Then Anena Yoga Margena Idam Gantavyam. By this strategy you are achieving this. Anena Yoga Margena, by this strategy you are achieving this. So that is being told in this next shloka. Let us read this shloka. Parastasmat tu bhavonyo tasmat tu bhavonyo avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. So now we are coming to this description of the Akshara Brahma or the Supreme Brahma. We saw that Omkara is a strategy either for the Supreme Brahma or for the inferior Brahma. Then what is the nature of that Supreme Brahma was not told earlier. Only the strategy was told. Omkara, you do this Omkara, you will attain Supreme Brahma. What is the nature of that Supreme Brahma? That is being told in this shloka and also in the next shloka. The next two. That is, now we are reading 20th, 21st and also 22nd. All these three shlokas, they are in a group. So they talk about this Akshara Brahma. So here let us see this shloka. Paraha tasmat tu bhavaha anyaha avyaktaha avyakta sanatanaha. There is an akara avagraha. Do you have two avagraha or not?
Yes.
Paras tasmat tu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. We have to read like that. Paras tasmat tu bhavonyo. There is an avagraha there. That is, I is implied. Avyakto avyaktat sanatanaha. Otherwise, you will be reading Vyakto Vyaktat Sanatana. It is not Vyakto Vyaktat, Avyaktaha Avyaktat Sanatanaha. So the connection or Sambandha here is like this. Tasmat Avyaktat. We have talked about one Avyakta. Avyakta is that unmanifest state. What is that unmanifest state? Hiranyagarbha's night. You see in that earlier shloka, Avyaktad Vyaktaya Sarvaha Prabhavanti. You go to the 18th shloka. 18th shloka we saw Avyaktad Vyaktaya Prabhavanti. So that was called Hiranyagarbha's night was called Avyakta, isn't it? Avyakta was explained as Sushupti of that Hiranyagarbha. So we were referring to that Avyakta. Now we are talking about a different Avyakta. We are now talking, there are two levels of Avyaktas in this particular shloka. One is a higher level of Avyakta and one is a lower level of Avyakta. This lower level of Avyakta which we saw in 18th shloka refers to that particular night of that Hiranyagarbha where all the things are withdrawn. That is again an unmanifest state. There is another Avyakta beyond this Avyakta, beyond this Hiranyagarbha's night, there is another Avyakta. So we have to see, just get back to what is the nature of Hiranyagarbha. We know that Hiranyagarbha himself is a sort of, is a manifestation in that Maya. And the Adhishtanam, the substratum, the base for this Maya is again who? The Supreme Brahman only. And that Supreme Brahman is something beyond, say, sensory perception, isn't it? Whereas Hiranyagarbha and his world and universe, they are all, this is say, perceivable by the senses. This is not Anindriya Gochara, whereas Supreme Brahman is Anindriya Gochara. So, here we are talking about the other Supreme, say, Avyakta. So, Tasmat Avyaktat. You see this first line, Paraha Tasmat tu means on the other hand. Paraha tasmat tu bhavaha anyaha avyaktaha avyaktat sanatanaha. So this avyaktat, you bring it to tasmat. Tasmat avyaktat. That is in comparison to that avyakta which we talked about. There is another paraha avyaktaha. Anyaha paraha avyaktaha. Paraha means supreme. Anyaha means something different. Paraha, anyaha, avyaktaha. This again is that unmanifest. This is again that unmanifest thing. That is something which is not perceived by the senses. Here the word, the meaning of avyakta is something which is not perceivable by the senses. Avyaktaha, sanatanaha. This is again unchanging in nature. Whereas what we have seen is changing in nature. The earlier avyakta which we saw, the entire manifestation in this Hiranyagarbha is something which is always changing. The whole universe is always in a state of flux. It is always changing. That is why it is called Jagat. Gacchati iti Jagat. Gacchati means it moves. It moves on and moves on. So that is why it is called Jagat. So this Jagat is characterized by change. Whereas that Sanatana, that avyakta, the other avyakta is sanatana, it is called. Sanatana means sanatana sadatanaha. That is, it is there always, it is unchanged, it is akshara, untouched by time, it is beyond time. So that is it means, that is what it means. That is unchanging. Ekarupaha, one shape, it doesn't change. Then, first line, have you got the connection?
Yes.
Tasmat avyaktat paraha anyaha bhavaha. Bhavaha means an entity. That again is called avyakta and it is sanatanaha. There is one unchanging entity which is beyond the perception of senses, and that is there beyond the earlier say avyakta which we talked about earlier. So that is the meaning of first line. Is it clear or not?
Yes.
Okay. Yaha sa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. Yaha means that which, this superior avyakta, sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu. This is again in what is called Sati Saptami. While all these beings are dying away, disappearing, while all these beings are disappearing, while all these beings keep disappearing, this particular avyakta na vinashyati, it does not disappear, it does not die. So all other things, all this including Hiranyagarbha also, he has an end, isn't it? This Brahma also has an end. There are Brahma again, the Puranas say that Brahma also has about 100 years like a human being, and then those 100 years are totally different. Our 100 years span is different and their divine years span is different. So after that again, that Brahma, the whole thing is disappeared, whole thing disappears. That is called Mahapralaya, an ordinary Pralaya and Mahapralaya when the Hiranyagarbha himself is out. So when that man is out, even then the base or the substratum for that whole manifestation is still there. The supreme consciousness, that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, is very much there. So that is the point here. Yaha sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu. When all these things are decaying or dying. Dying does not mean getting destroyed totally. They are not going into shunya. Only this sthula deha nasha. That is how the commentator is explaining. Sthula deha nasha means only the gross appearance, whatever gross appearance is there, that is dying. We have to remember that line. Asti bhati priyam rupam namachetyamsha panchakam. Asti bhati priyam, they never die. That is, exists, this is. Then this is intelligent, this is conscious entity. Then priyam, this is characterized by happiness. These three things, Asti bhati and priyam, are brahmanaha rupam. These are the characteristics of Brahman which are manifest in the beings, in all the beings. In all the beings, these three things are there. In addition, there are two more things. What is that? Nama and Rupa. This Nama Rupa are Jagad Rupam. These keep on changing. So when we say Nashyatsu, it is not the whole disappearance of the self itself. It is only the disappearance of the gross body, isn't it? So Sarveshu Bhuteshu Nasyatsu means, this is again, as I said, it is in Sati Saptami. Sarveshu, while all these beings they disappear, this particular thing, this particular avyakta na vinashyati, it does not disappear. So that is what it means. That is, all these are the things, all these things are the upadhis for that Supreme Brahman. What all we call as this multitude of beings, all this multitude of beings, what we call, They are just the upadhis. Upadhi means just reflecting media, let us say. Upadhi is a sort of reflecting medium. You take a bowl of water and then the sun's light gets reflected in that. You take another larger bowl, that also gets reflected. So it is like that. So many mirrors, so many bowls, so many receptacles, so many, say, let us say, defining, say, factors. So these are called the upadhis. So that unchanging thing is very much there. Like sun's example we saw in Kathopanishad also. So that sun's light getting reflected on so many water bodies. The sun's light does not change, whereas only the water bodies look differently. So that is the thing. So let us see the Bhashyam. Yogamar, okay. Paraha vyatiriktah bhinnah kutah tasmat purvoktat tu shabdah avyakta aksharasya vivakšitasya avyaktad vailakshanya visheshanarthah. Okay. So here paraha vyatiriktah bhinnah. Vyatiriktah means it is slightly different. It is apart from that. This paraha, this is supreme. Then kutaha, that kutaha means from what, with reference to what. Then tasmat purvoktat. Paraha tasmat avyaktat. That is the line in the shloka. Tasmat means from that, in comparison with that. That purvoktat, which has been told earlier. What is that avyakta? That is the day of that Hiranyagarbha. Then tu shabdaha avyakta aksharasya vivakšitasya visheshanartha. That is, tu is meant to distinguish this aksharam from avyaktam aksharam from that earlier avyakta. This avyakta is avyaktam aksharam. That earlier avyakta is avyakta, which is sushupti of Hiranyagarbha. This tu shabda is basically to distinguish these two things. So that is what he says. Avyakta aksharasya vivakšitasya. Vivakšitasya means that which is intended to be told. Vivaksha. Vaktum iksha is vivaksha. Vivakšitam is something that is now intended to be told, intended to be proposed. Vivakšitasya avyaktat vailakshanya visheshanartha. Vailakshanya means it is vilakshana. It is slightly different. Then bhavaha aksharakyam param brahma. So here in the first line we see paras tasmatu bhavaha anyaha. Anyaha bhavaha. Bhavaha means it is existing. Bhavaha aksharakyam param brahma, whose satta, whose existence can never be denied. This existence of this earlier avyakta can be denied or negated, but the existence of that supreme Brahman cannot be denied. Paras tasmat tu bhavaha aksharakyam param brahma. This param brahma, aksharakyam means that which is called akshara. Akshara akyam means it is named akshara, it is called akshara. Then vyatiriktatve satyapi salakshanya prasango asti iti tad vinivrutyartham aha anya iti. So this line also says paras tasmatu bhavaha anyaha avyaktaha. So this anya, it is something different that is being told. We know basically to exclude. How vyatiriktatve satyapi salakshanya prasanga asti. So though it is different, it is having the same characteristics. Salakshanyam means having the same characteristics. Lakshana is characteristics. Salakshanyam is having the same characteristics. Vyatiriktatve satyapi salakshanyam means though it is distinguished, it is not totally different. Salakshanya prasanga asti iti. Tan nivrutyartham. They basically to avoid that, to obviate that sort of doubt, it is now being told that it is something which is anya. It is something which is superior. Anyaha. Then anyaha vilakshanaha sacha avyaktaha anindriya gocharaha. So that is what he is saying. Anyaha vilakshanaha. This is something which is vilakshana, something which is distinct, which is distinguishable from the earlier one. And this avyakta is anindriya gochara. Anindriya gochara means that which cannot be perceived by the senses. Indriya gocharam is something which is perceivable by the senses. Anindriya gochara is something which is beyond the perception of senses and the ordinary mind. Ordinary mind, why I am saying ordinary mind is, if the same mind undergoes some samskruti, susamskruta buddhayah, that is, once the same mind undergoes tuition under a guru, having that Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, once the same mind tries to know what is its real nature, then this this so-called I, once it realizes that it is nothing but that supreme consciousness, then that is what is say the freedom from all this say other body-mind complex. So that is why it is said anindriya gocharaha paraha tasmad ityuktam kasmat punah paraha पूर्वोक्तात् भूतग्राम बीजभूतात् avidya-lakshanaad avyaktaat. So he is saying one more point here. This purvoktaad bhutagrama bijabhutaad avidya-lakshanaat. So this purvokta avyaktam, that is this particular non-manifest, unmanifest which was told earlier, is avidya-lakshanam. Avidya means ignorance, of course, that is a normal way. Avidya, actually, we should not say not only ignorance, but wrong knowledge. Na vidya is avidya. It is not as though the person is totally fool. The person is having a lot of wrong information. So that is avidya. Having a lot of wrong information is avidya. So here, what is this avidya? Thinking about oneself as a limited being is avidya. Thinking oneself as the body-mind complex which dies and decays and all these things, that is avidya. And craving for all these things in order to fulfill oneself, that is avidya. So all these things are avidya lakshana. Kama, karma, bijam. Avidya lakshana, kama, karma, bijam, which that phrase we have seen earlier. So he feels he wants to do something, he wants to attain something. All this is avidya lakshana. So this avidya lakshanat avyaktat. Say paraha tasmad ityuktam kasmat punah paraha means compared to what is it paraha or supreme? Purvokta, in comparison with what was told earlier, bhutagrama bija bhutad avidya lakshanat. That particular earlier avyakta is the bija bhutam for that, for the whole bhutagrama, for the whole multitude of all these beings, that is something like a seed form. Something like a seed, they are all in a seed form in that avyakta. That is that night of that Hiranyagarbha. Then sanatanaha chirantanaha yassa bhavaha sarveshu bhuteshu brahmadishu nasyatsu na vinashyati. So sanatanaha. So this aksharam or the supreme Brahman is also called sanatanaha. Chirantana and sanatana are one and the same. This tana is a pratyaya. Sanatana, sadatana. Chiram is forever. Chirantanaha. Yaha sabhavaha. That particular entity is chirantanaha. Then sarveshu bhuteshu brahmadishu nasyatsu. Then when all these beings, including this Brahma, we are referring to that Hiranyagarbha Brahma. Hiranyagarbha is also called Brahma. The only difference is the supreme Brahma, we call it Brahma, short form. Brahma. In Sanskrit, we call it Brahma. In English, we call it Brahman. We call it in English, we say, we add an N also. Brahma is the Napumsakalinga Shabda. Napumsakalinga is neuter gender. Whereas the earlier, the other one, the inferior one, is denoted in masculine gender. Masculine gender, that is, and also Brahma, there is an elongation there. Brahma, the dirgham or elongation is there. When you say Brahma, you are referring to that inferior Brahman. That is empirical Brahma or a transactional level Brahma. When you say Brahma, you are referring to the supreme Brahman. So this we have to note. So Brahmadishu nasyatsu. Even when that Brahma dies, Brahmadishu, Brahma means not only that Hiranyagarbha Brahma, there are other manifestations in that, say Maya. There are all other things like, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and all those various other cosmic functions, which are also called Devas, which we call them as gods. Surya, Chandra, so many things, all these cosmic functions, they also die, isn't it? Die means they just disappear, they are withdrawn. When all these things they disappear, then this particular akshara na vinashyati, because this substratum, this base is something which cannot disappear. So the modern Swamis, they give the example of a cinema hall. In the cinema hall, there is a say a white screen, and on that white screen, there was so much of light, flood of light falls, and then so many pixels of that light falls, and then depending on the nature of pixels and the concentration of the pixels, you see the images, and you also see some colors, you also see some shapes. You see that so and so is the hero, so and so is the heroine, so and so is the villain, and whatnot. So all these things, what are they? They are not the existing things there. They are things, they are nothing but pixels and light. And once that pixels and light are gone, that is that adhishthanam, that silver screen is that white entity which is there. So you can either call that silver screen itself an adhishthanam, or this light, light itself. This light itself is adhishthanam, and in this light all these things are just appearing. So this is an example given by the present day Swamis. That also holds good. That also holds good because that explains the thing. So when all these things disappear, this particular thing does not die. So in this particular shloka, what did we see? There we saw these two levels of avyakta. That is that lower level of avyakta, which is called Hiranyagarbha, and that which is the Bija Bhuta. Bija Bhuta means, Bija means seed. Bija Bhuta means it is something like a seed for this whole universe. So that is what we saw. And then we also saw that this Bija Bhuta Avyakta is something which is changing, whereas this Sanatana thing is not changing. This higher Avyakta is called Brahman, that is also called Aksharam, that is unchanging. Then another point which we saw is the earlier lower Avyakta is Avidya Lakshana. Avidya Lakshana, the higher Avyakta is devoid of that avidya. Then all these upadhis, they change and perish, whereas this the superior avyakta, the higher avyakta is something which does not undergo any of these change. So this is what we have seen in this particular shloka. Let us see the next one. Avyakto kshara ityuktaha tamahuh paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Okay, so this particular shloka, again in continuation of the earlier one, it tells about the nature of that Brahma. What is that? Avyaktaha, it is some name also is given to that. Avyaktaha aksharaha iti uktaha. This avyakta which I am referring to now is called akshara. Akshara iti uktaha means it is called. It is called akshara. Akshara means unchanging, not charati iti aksharaha, unchanging. Then tam ahuhu paramam gatim. Tam, that particular aksharam, the paramam gatim ahuhu. They say that this is the supreme goal. Paramam gati. That is the highest thing. That is the highest gati. Gati means, gati in the context of Vedanta, we have got two meanings. Gati, it comes from the root gam. Gam means to go. Gacchati. Gacchati, that is the root. Dhatu. Gam dhatu. Gacchati is the verb. So gati here is movement, isn't it? Or highest position. That is the position which you reach by going. Then in Vedanta, we have also seen Shankaracharya's word, avagatireva gatihi. That is avagacchati. That is understanding, realizing. Realization itself is gati. That is what we saw in earlier, Bhashya. Avagatireva gatihi. So, paramam gatim. So, that is the highest thing you have to realize. Not exactly a place to go. Avagatireva gatihi. That is the highest thing which you have to realize. Then, avyaktaha akshara ityuktaha tam ahuhu paramam gatim. That is the highest thing which you have to realize. Iti ahuhu. Ahuhu means people say. Who? Wise men. Wise men say, yam prapya na nivartante. So, having reached which, there is no return. Having reached which, na nivartante means people do not return. That is, what does it mean? Once you realize that you are the Supreme Brahman yourself, there is no question of nivartanam. How? That is, once you have got over your feeling of finiteness, once you have got over your feeling of helplessness and dependence and whatnot, and once you feel that you are that Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Brahma, then where is the question of again coming back? Where is the question of again coming back means again assuming a human form. So long as you feel that you are a small fellow, delimited fellow, then you want to acquire a body, you want to do something, your Sukshma Sharira comes back, acquires a body. So that is what happens. when you, because of your awareness or because of your realization, the Sushma Sharira itself disappears. When the Sushma Sharira itself disappears, where is the question of coming back? So that is it. Yam prapya nanivartante tat dhama paramam mama. So that is my supreme place. Tat dhama. Dhama means place, supreme place. Dhama means a super dwelling, let us say. Tad dhama, paramam, supreme. So mama dhama, that is my supreme dhama. This is what literally means. Then a question comes. When I say that this is my dhama, this is my residence, this is my house, what does it mean? It means that I am different from that house, isn't it? I am different from that house. I may be very, very big. This Brahma may be very, very big. He may be a very, very great man. But still, when he says that Tad Dhama Paramamma, this is my Dhama, this is my dwelling place, this is my place, is he referring to some Vaikuntha? Or is he referring to some Kailasha? Or what is he referring to? Is he referring to a place where he is staying, and then again there is again a substratum for him? When he is staying in a house, the house itself becomes the dwelling place. The house is much bigger place than him. So you are again a delimited person, you are again a confined person. Now how to give the meaning to this? Then again, not only that, it also, when you say that he is Lord Krishna or Vishnu or somebody, he is referring to himself, and then this is my place, you are again referring to a personal God. Personal God means God who is in the shape of a human being. Like what other religions say, all other religions also, God is in human form only. But then he doesn't have a rupam, they say, but then he is definitely, he makes a human being in his own shape. So that is what their books say. So God is in human form. So here again, are we referring to a personal God? Gita, we know that Gita does not refer to a personal God. Gita refers to that Shuddha, Nitya, Shuddha, Mukta Swabhava, Brahma. That is Brahman, whose characteristic is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So the characteristics of Brahman are truth, Jnanam, consciousness, and infinitude, isn't it? So when we say that, how do you explain this Tadhama Paramam Mama? So that is why there is a lot of charcha on that. Of course, not made by Shankaracharya. The other commentators have made. Here Madhusudana Saraswati, he has explained one beautiful line, because we are also reading from Madhusudana Saraswati. Let me read this thing. Mama dhama iti raho shiraha iti vat bheda kalpanaya shashti ataha ahameva paramagatihi ityarthaha. So here he is explaining one particular nuance of language. I think you still have time, there is a lot of time. Okay. So here we have to see the nuance of language. So in every language there is a way of saying. So here Tadhama Paramam Mama, this Mama Dhama, in what is that vibhakti there? Shashti vibhakti. Mama, Ramasya, Ramayoho Ramanam. That is Shashti vibhakti, isn't it? What is that case? What is that case in English? What is that? Anyway. So Shashti vibhakti, let us say. So that Shashti vibhakti, how should you take it? He says Raho Shiraha. There is another example called Raho Shiraha, the head of Rahu. So if you know the story, if you recall the story of Rahu, Rahu has only head and there is no body. You know that?
Yes.
So there is a small story which we can recapitulate. We know that the gods and demons, they were churning that milk ocean. All this again is symbolic, that milk ocean is nothing but a human brain, and then gods and demons are nothing but our own good thoughts and bad thoughts. So this is, we need not go into all that. So let me tell the story only. So the gods and demons, they were churning the ocean, and initially some things they came out. So moon came out, and then some Airavatam came out, and something else came out, and then Lakshmi came out. Lakshmi came out, Lord Krishna, Vishnu grabbed her. Then again, what happened? This poison, halahalam came. When halahalam came, Shiva, he gulped it and then he kept it in his throat. So all these things are there. And at last, when Amrutam came, then it is for that nectar. It is for that nectar which is going to make everybody immortal. So that these people, the gods and demons, were fighting, isn't it? So that nectar, when it came, then all the people, they wanted to grab it. So then what happened? Then the gods, they thought of a plan. If all these demons also they become immortal, then it would be impossible to vanquish them. So Vishnu, he thinks of a plan. He comes in the guise of a very, very beautiful woman. She is called a Mohini, isn't it? So that Mohini, she takes that Amrita Bhandam. She takes that vessel in which that Amrita was kept. And then and the moment all these demons, they see this Mohini, they get totally enchanted by her, because that is the Rajoguna. All these demons, they have this Rajoguna. So because they are characterized by this Rajoguna, they get enchanted by that lady. And then everybody starts trying to court her or woo her. So then that lady says, no, I am going to distribute this Amrutam to all of you equally. You please sit in 2 rows. Let the gods sit in 1 row. Let all these demons sit in 1 row. I will come and I will give this Amrutam to all of you. Then this Vishnu, that guy, then they also say, let nobody cross the line. Let these people sit in this line only. Let these people sit in this other line only. Nobody should cross. Then they keep Surya and Chandra as witnesses. The sun and moon as witnesses. So what happens? Then say that she keeps on serving to all the gods. So these people, they are getting restive. Though they are looking at the beauty of that Mohini and then they are getting enchanted, but still they are becoming restive. Whether something is remaining at all or not, they do not know. So when they become restive, one fellow, he goes and then he sits in the other, line. He disguises himself as a god and then he goes and sits there. So then when Vishnu comes, he pours to that fellow also. And then this Surya and Chandra, who were kept as witnesses, they signal to Lord Vishnu. But by the time he notices, he has already given that Amrutam to this demon called Rahu, and he gulps it, and then he becomes immortal. So that is why when then Vishnu realizes, and then when he breaks his head, he sends his chakram and then he breaks his head. The body is made up, apart from the Shira, Raho's Shira. Shira is apart and the trunk is apart, but they both live. One is called Rahu, the other is called Ketu. So that is how it is. So both the things they live. But then in literature, we have an expression Raho Shiraha. Raho Shiraha means Rahu's head. Rahu itself is the head. There is nothing apart from the head. So that is how it is a sort of lakshana, or it is a way of saying. Here also, Taddhama Paramam Mama, it should be understood as Raho Shiraha Vat Abhede Shashti, where there is no distinction between me and my dwelling. That is, Abhede Shashti means there is no distinction. Abheda means there is totally no distinction between the one thing and the other thing. Raho Shiraha means there is no distinction between Rahu and Shira. Shira itself is Rahu. Then when I say Mama Dhama, between me and Mama Dhama, there is no distinction. I am that. So that is the meaning. That is how we have to take this line. Mama Dhama means I am that. This is my, we should not take it as my dwelling. We should take it as Ahameva Paramagatihi. Ahameva Paramagati. I am that dwelling. I am that place. I am that state of realization. People have to realize me. So that is how we have to take. Is it clear?
Yes.
So, Yam Prapya Nanivartante Taddhama Paramamama. This, the basic point is the all-pervading Brahma cannot have a separate dwelling place, isn't it? There is we visualize Brahma as that all-pervading entity. So that all-pervading entity cannot have a place. He cannot have some Vaikuntha or Kailasa or some such place. So all these stories like Vaikuntha, Kailasa, etc., they are told for ordinary people. So that is why Puranas, they are basically for very primary level people. Purana should not be taken as the basic thing. Purana is basic. Purana we should not discard also. Purana also is, they have served a role. They played a very great role in preserving preserving dharma over a period of time. Because of Puranas, we come across so many vratams, so many pujas, so many practices, so many good practices, what we call dharma acharana as we call it. All this dharma acharana is based on Puranas only. So and so vratam is described, another vratam is described. All these things are basically for the protection of dharma only and for instilling some good conduct among people. So Puranas, they have got a role. But when we come to Vedanta, we have to realize that Purana is at a lower level. We are not talking for children, we are not talking for ordinary people, we are talking for, say, the people who really want to know the truth. So that is why Vedanta is on a different footing. Puranas are on a different footing. So that is what we have to see. And Purana again, they do have this, say, philosophical meaning. We have to know the philosophy behind it, we have to know the symbolism behind it and interpret the philosophy, interpret the, say, Puranic story. So here, let us see the Bhashya. Is the shloka clear to you? Avyaktaha aksharaha unchanging iti uktaha yam prapya nanivartante. If you attain that realization, there is no question of your, say, the linga sharira itself. The linga sharira itself disappears. There is no question of coming back and taking up a body. It is as simple as that. Then let us see the Bhashyam. Yo asau avyaktaha aksharaha ityuktaha tameva akshara sangnakam avyaktam bhavam ahuhu paramam prakrushtam gatim. So yaha asau avyaktaha aksharaha ityuktaha. That which has been called avyakta and akshara. Yaha asau, that this particular thing which we are calling as avyakta and akshara, what is that? Tameva akshara sangnakam avyaktam bhavam ahuhu. It is called akshara bhavam. That entity is called that unchanging entity. Then paramam prakushtam gatim. It is also the supreme, say, state of realization. Gati, we should not take it as a place or a goal. We should take it as that supreme state of realization. Paramam gati, that is the supreme state of realization. Then paramam gatim yam bhavam prapya gatva na nivartante samsaraya tadhama sthanam paramam padam ityarthaha. Okay. Yam prapya, yam bhavam prapya, having attained which, na nivartante, they do not get back. Na nivartante samsaraya, that is again to this transmigration cycle. Tat dhama, that sthanam, paramam padam, that is the highest padam, that is the highest state of realization, that is the mama vishnoha padam. Tad vishnoha paramam padam sada pashyanti surayah. That mantra, all these things, mantras we also routinely say. Tad Vishnoh Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayah. Surayah means wise people. Sada Pashyanti Surayah. Suri means the brilliant people. Surayah, the wise men. These wise people, they say that is that Tad Vishnoh Paramam Padam. That Aksharakyam Padam is that Vishnoh Padam, as we call it. So Vishnu here, we should take it as Brahma, not as that one among the Trinity. So we have to always distinguish where we are talking of a lower level, say Brahma, say deity, and where we are talking about the supreme Brahma. So that tadhama paramam padam ityarthaha. So okay, here in this shloka what we saw is, number one, there cannot be a dwelling place for Brahman who is all pervading. This is one point which we saw, because Brahman is all pervading, there cannot be any dwelling place. And this tadhama paramam mama dhama has to be understood as raho shiraha. Shankaracharya has, though Shankaracharya has not told it, the other commentators have told, and we have to, there is a lot of shastra charcha, there is a lot of discussion on this. So this particular point we have to take from Madhusudana Saraswati. It is undistinguishable from the Brahman itself. That is, Brahma itself is the Dhamma, Brahma itself is the place, like Rahu itself is the Shira, Brahma itself is that place. So that is it. Brahma itself is the thing to be realized, to be attained. Then all other lokas, what we call all other lokas, they are all in consciousness only. Whatever loka we call, they are all in the consciousness only. So that is another thing which we have to see. Is the time over?
Yeah, almost.
Or shall we read? We can just read this shloka. Tal labdhehe upayaha uchyate. So how to attain that, say, paramagati, how to attain that particular Brahman? So uchyate. Let us read this shloka. Purushassa parah partha
Purushasya parah partha
bhaktya labhyastvananyaya
bhaktya labhyastvananyaya
yasya antasthani bhutani
yasya antasthani bhutani
yena sarvamidam tatam.
yena sarvamidam tatam.
Okay. He Partha, Purushaha sa paraha Partha. He Partha, sa paraha, sa Purushaha paraha. That particular Purusha, that particular Avyakta, that particular Aksharam. When we say refer to Purusha here, we are referring to the same Avyakta, same Aksharam. So Aksharaha. When one word is in masculine, we can also use the other word as masculine. There is no harm. Purushaha, Avyaktaha, Aksharaha. What is that? Then Bhaktya Labhyaha. Bhaktya Labhyaha. He can be attained by Bhakti. What is this Bhakti? We can see in the next class. I will just explain split the words only. Bhaktya Labhyaha. Bhaktya Labhyaha means he can be attained by Bhakti. Ananyaya. Ananyaya Bhaktya. That is, Anya means something different from you. Ananya means not something different from you. Ananyaya Bhaktya means you have to see that Brahman as your own self. You have to contemplate it, you have to realize that it is your own self. Ananyaya Bhaktya Labhyaha. Yasya Antasthani Bhutani. All the beings are in that only. All the beings Antasthani. All the beings are in that consciousness only. Then Yena Sarvam Idam Tatam. And by him, by that, Yena means by that, let us say, not him, by that Brahman. Sarvam Idam Tatam. This whole thing, what all we see is Tatam. Tatam means Vyaptam, pervaded. Tatam means pervaded. So this is the shloka we will read in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.